Will this come out properly?
I think so. So we'll try. Okay. So, do you know anything about Shore Trust or what we do?
No, just what the wellbeing people told me.
Okay.
That you helped me if I had an employment issue or something.
Yeah. So we are the employment part of the wellbeing service. So if for any reason employment is impacting your wellbeing, that is where we come in. Your bread and butter techniques are your CVs and your interview skills that we can help build up, but also a bit more in depth, we want to really build those bridges between mental health and physical health in the workplace and get that the correct understanding that it doesn't at the minute. We've got a little bit of employment law knowledge, and we can basically just give you advice and guidance about how to make you happier in work. So, does that sound like you're in the right place?
Looks like I'm at a result, don't it?
Good. So, before we get started into what's going on in work, can you just take a look at this disclosure form for me, please? And
This is a new GDPR, isn't it?
yeah, and
Yeah,
just
we've
sign.
had to do one of these at work.
Brilliant. So if
Yeah.
you can just sign if you're happy.
So I have to make a choice at the end, yeah?
Yeah, so if you can just cross one statement out for me, and obviously we don't have to share any information. Your therapist who referred you to us will access our notes today, basically just to make sure that I'm doing my job. The only case where we would share any information would be if you disclosed that you were a possible risk to yourself or harm of others. Lovely, thank you. This next one's just going to ask you a few employment questions about where you are at the minute to give us a bit of insight for our data sets about the types of people we're getting through the doors. I think a lot of people, when they access an employment service, there's this incorrect stereotype that it's because you're out of work, and it's similar to the job centre that you're signing on, and there seems to be a bit of a shame connected to it, but that isn't how it is at all. We've all got employment worries at some point or another. And
Well,
then
that's something I'll come inform you about when we go on a little bit.
brilliant. And then lastly, you've probably seen scales similar to this before. This is our independent measure of your well-being. And what we do is we take one at the beginning, which is your initial well-being score, and one at the end of your treatment with me. So if you can just circle those numbers and say how you feel over the past 2 weeks, but try and focus it in work, that would be brilliant. And hopefully when you come to the end of your treatment, we'll see an improvement in your well-being according to those scores. Lovely, thank you very much. So, Ron, tell me what's been happening at work.
Okay, so I work for quite a prestigious broking company, of which I am acquisitions manager,
Okay.
and I run a small team of 6 people. And recently, the finance director has been, what can I say, questioning some of the decisions I make, questioning some of the work that I've got my team to do, questioning some of the reports that I put in, and quite frankly, I just feel like they're looking for a way to manage me out of the business. At the moment, I feel like I'm being micromanaged,
Yeah.
and I'm a very experienced, very professional person, and at the moment I feel like, because I was out of work for 2 years, and at my age, you know, I'm a bit worried now about if the worst happened and they decided that my performance wasn't good enough and I was, shall we say, asked to leave, I feel I might struggle, especially with the effect it's had on me with the stress and anxiety recently. I do feel that sometimes some of my decisions I would need to question myself. Having said that, I make that business a lot of money.
How long have you been there?
7 years.
Okay, well the first good bit of good news is that employment law it's a little bit slippery, but when you're in a business for 2 years, you're then covered by employment law. Anything over 2 years, the employment law is on your side. So in that type of thing, you're covered. So that's good. Do you want to stay there?
To be honest, if you ask me at this very moment, I would say no, I don't want to stay there, for the simple reason that I'm quite a calm, gentle person most of the time, but I do have a bit of a temper if I'm pushed too far, and I felt there have been 1 or 2 times I've had to draw myself back in. Not necessarily to be physically violent, but I just feel like I'm going to explode and say things that I'm going to regret.
Has there been any confrontation or conversations around your workplace performance or leaving? Because if you're scared of them dismissing you, they can't do that without following a process, and that process would involve meetings alongside their HR that I could attend with you. So has there been anything like that to begin with?
Well, we have like a quick weekly meeting, like management meeting, and on 2 occasions I've been held back, which other managers within the business have noticed. There've been 1 or 2 comments which I brushed aside, because normally I don't worry too much about things. I just give them a look and try and let things go over my head. But it's getting to a stage now where I feel like people are tittle tattling.
Yeah.
And that's having a profound effect on the respect and trust I think that my team are having in me at the moment. I feel like even some of those are looking at me in a strange way, kind of questioning the decisions I make.
Have any of them pulled you to the side and asked directly, or is it just sort of the feeling that you're getting?
Well, there's one particular guy there who's started pretty much the same day as I did, who we get on really well, and he's sort of got me aside at lunchtime and asked me if I'm okay, and you know, whatever, and but I don't feel that I'm in a position to disclose certain facts to him about what's going on. But he's not stupid, he does know, and he's been very supportive. But you know, the rest of the team are, I know that I gain their respect, but I feel that respect is wilting away at the moment, because I think they're looking at me as if they're saying, you know, Ron's on the verge of a breakdown or whatever, he's not coping, you know, and it's starting to show, and I know it is.
Do you delegate tasks to them? So is there any way that, do you feel like an upfront kind of, what sort of relationship do you have with your team? What I'm trying to say is, if you were to pull them in a room and say, you've probably picked up on it, but I am struggling at the minute, there's no weakness in saying that, and delegating more tasks out? I have a morning meet, every morning we have a meeting, and we discuss about what we're going to do for the day, what rolled over from yesterday, what's going to roll over for next week. That's good.
And yeah, I have to delegate things to them, obviously, because I can't do everything within the department. It's just too much. Because I often have to go out, meet clients and whatever, and then come back and have to fill in reports. And at the moment, I feel I'm spending too much time at work trying to keep up.
Yeah.
Which I never had to do before. It's never really bothered me. I'm quite a confident person, or always been quite a confident person, but at the moment, I don't like the word confidence, but my self-esteem has been battered, and I feel like I'm not the person I used to be.
Work can have that effect though. When you think about how much of our living life we spend in work, if something's not going right in work, it's no wonder that it takes such a drastic effect. Quite often we only see work as something that we do just to earn the money, but it's the people that we're constantly around. It's a lot of sense of worth, and especially for a male as well, when you're providing for your family, to admit, actually this is getting really hard, is tough. So you've already done the hardest thing by coming in here and saying that actually, hold my hands up, this is tough. Talk to me about the relationship you've got with your finance director. So is he the one that directly manages you?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we were to have a meeting and perhaps say, Ron is really struggling in work, can we look at any reasonable adjustments to reduce his feelings of stress and anxiety? How do you think he would take that? Would you be scared to do that?
I wouldn't be scared, but I say I wouldn't be scared. I'd be apprehensive, because I think that in his head he would be jumping up and down and clapping his hands.
Okay.
saying, I know him, right, he's losing it, you know, he's not competent anymore for his job. I make that business a lot of money. I earn a lot of money. Money's not the thing. Money's not the be all and the end all. You know, I've learnt that before. I want to go home and I want to be able to relax and chill and, you know, do the things, normal things that people do. But at the moment, you know, I just can't seem to be able to get my head around too much of anything.
What do you feel in your gut the best solution for you would be? If it wasn't for the fact that you're reluctant because you feel that your age would hold you back to search for other jobs, would you be wanting to look for a different job and get yourself out of that environment?
If I had my way, I'd just like to get the finance director in a room and punch his face in. But that's not going to achieve anything, I realise that. But you know, where you get to a certain stage, you think, any minute now, you know, you're just being so pathetic and pedantic. Results speak for themselves, you know, why do you keep having to pick holes in stuff? If I had a meeting with him, I think that he would probably, knowing what he's like, maybe he looks upon me as a challenge to his job.
Is he younger than you?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a whiz kid. His people skills are virtually non-existent. I mean, I take my team out once a month. If we have a really good month, I take them out, we go for a pizza, we might go bowling, we might go to the pictures. I never take them to the pub because that encourages them not to turn up to work the next day. But I like to think we do positive things. And I know that's been noticed within the business, like some of the other managers who are good guys, you know, say to me, why'd you do that? And I just say, it's a question of keeping the communication flow going.
It's a positive reward, that keeps them motivated.
And keep that trust.
Who does that for you? What motivates you?
Them.
Okay. So is that the main reason why you'd want to stay there, would be your team?
Yeah, I don't like giving up. I don't feel, but I'm quite an obstinate person. You know, I've always in business. You know, I've always been like that. I don't give up easily. You know, I get to the stage where they get fed up with saying no and say, Ron, for God's sake, leave us alone, go away. You know, and that's when I give up because I'm quite tenacious. And I defend my team if they do something wrong. As long as they tell me, we can deal with it. I love working with a team, I love the job, I'm really good at it, but I just can't work with this particular person. You know, I've thought about, shall I go to the, you know, the managing director, and then I think, well, that looks a bit sneaky, weaky and weak.
It depends what instances have occurred between you and the finance director, so it's quite difficult unless you've got evidence of written conversations or recorded conversations where he's directly offended you, or email threads where he perhaps hasn't done something that he said he would have that would have helped you out. Do you feel you have any of that evidence? No? No,
he's quite sneaky like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh Ron, can you stay behind after the manager's meeting, and then just when no one else is around have a dig.
In the future, when he does do that, just be aware that you are within your rights to say, can we do this formally, or can we sit down? Do you mind if I take notes? Because it will be good if you start collecting evidence. Not only will that indicate to him that actually you're taking this further, or you could be taking this further, it also indicates that you're not taking his rubbish anymore. Because when people know that it's not going to be followed up by anything because there's no evidence, that's when they can walk all over you. I would challenge you when you say, I don't want to give up, that would be giving up. I don't think in any environment where stress is constantly around your body that much and the adrenaline's pumping and the effect that has on your health, I don't think in any instance that giving up is giving up. I think it's doing the best thing for yourself to walk away and preserve your own physical and mental health. But I understand you don't want to do that because of the team. So what we can do is build your CV. Your age doesn't have to go on your CV. When I first came into this job, I thought that your date of birth went on your CV. It doesn't. So no employer is going to have any preconceptions of you. And you also know that employers now, 9 times of the time, are completely non-judgmental, non-prejudiced. So your age isn't going to matter. You've got a massive set of skills, and that's what's going to count most if you did want to go into other work. What we can also look at is having a meeting with the finance director. How would you feel about reducing your hours or reducing your workplace tasks, your workload?
I can cope with a workload. Up until recently, it's never been a problem. Yeah, I go in about 8 o'clock, I leave about 6, and I might take a little bit of work home. But I always make sure I have a proper lunch hour. And it's been a kind of a routine that I've been used to, and it's never been stressful. It's always been easy. It's always been easy because I know that when I go in the next day, we can go over with the team and everything is hunky-dory and runs smooth as silk. But recently I just haven't been able to do it. I can't focus on things, you know, it takes me a lot longer to do things. If I had a meeting with a finance director, I feel like, you know, I feel like he's got a particular grievance against me for some reason.
The fact of the matter is, no what sort of personal agenda he may or may not have against you, he has got a duty of care to look after you. If you're thinking about reasonable adjustments that would make your work life easier, he's not going to leave just because you're not getting on with him. And I don't think the best thing for you to be, it's your decision completely, but I don't think the best thing for you to do would be to leave, because you're good at your job and your team, you may feel as if they're losing a bit of respect in you, but I would challenge that and say actually they're probably more worried about you. And if you've worked with them for 7 years, I'd encourage an open discussion where you say, do you know what, guy, you've probably noticed I have been making a few mistakes, hold my hands up, I need your support because I am struggling. If you include them in that information, they're going to feel not only more worthy as your employees, but they're going to want to help you rather than having to second guess at what the situation is. Because when we're left to guess, we pick it up worse than it is. He directly manages you, there's no escaping from that. But what we could do, because you're in the wellbeing service and you're suffering from stress and anxiety, is suggest workplace adjustments. Now instantly when you're speaking to me, I think perhaps if you were to do 1.5, 2 days home working, would there be any scope for you to do that? Just to get some distance between you and the finance director so that he's not always in your space, so that you have time again to focus on the work that you're good at in a different environment.
Yeah, I guess it would, but my work involves a lot of analytical stuff. You know, we have to look at stuff, analyse this way, that way. And my brain's been functioned to think like that. And if I was to do something like that, my brain would just be thinking, I wonder what he's putting the knife in at work if I was at home. Going forward, I guess what I would like to do was just have a meeting with him so that before I went in I could just write down what I want to raise in terms of how I feel he's behaving. And I'd like the MD to be there as well. And then obviously none of my work involves employment law. It's more taxation and stuff like that. I know nothing about the law, so if you're saying you could come along and kind of support me and make sure that they're doing what they need to do. I know it's not, you can't sort of answer for me because that will make me look even worse. But just have someone there who understands and can intervene and say, well, hang on a minute, I know that's not right, that would be useful.
I mean, they might not let us in. Employment law just covers and says you're allowed to accompany formal meetings with a union rep or a colleague. Most employers now we are seeing do let us in because if nothing else they want to be seen to recognise mental health, and if you say I'm from the wellbeing service, that'd be brilliant. If you could get written confirmation that I'm allowed in that meeting, and what we can do is we'll get together 2 weeks from now, we'll arrange a date for the meeting and we'll brainstorm everything you want to say. In those 2 weeks, if there's any instance where he does keep you behind after a meeting, or says something you don't like, write it down or take notes so that there's evidence, especially if the MD is going to be there, that you can present that actually you're not going mad, you're not just feeling this way because you don't like his character. this is what's happened. And what would be really good if you could just get a few pieces of evidence you could then say, and there's been many more instances that have been like this. And I would also, in those 2 weeks, have an open discussion with your employees and say how you've been feeling. There's no shame in it, and I think they'll feel more empowered if you share that information with them, because it shows you trust them, and people respond well to know that they're trusted. I'll do your CV. Can you send me a CV that you've got on file now? Have you got an up-to-date CV?
Yeah.
Okay, send that over. Here's my business card.
Thank you.
Send that over, and what we'll do is, I like to use the CVs as if nothing else, you go away from this and you've got something that you can transfer into another business stream if at any stage you think, no, do you know what, I do want to go somewhere else. And your CV, you'll find, is created in such a way to build your self-esteem up, because your friends and your family can say, oh Ron, but you're brilliant at X, Y and Z, but you're unlikely to believe it because it comes from your friends and family, and you feel almost like they're obliged to say those kind of things. I don't know you, so anything on your CV is going to be completely objective. And I think when you get it back, you can't necessarily argue with the skills that I've said you've got based on the job descriptions and information you've given, because I don't know you. So, does that sound like a good plan?
I'm up for that.
Brilliant. I'll see you out, Ron.
Thank
If
you
you
very
need
much.
anything in the meantime, my number's on the card. Any employment questions, anything you're not sure of, just give me a call, or the office. And we also use ACAS and the government website a lot. We've got a bit of employment law knowledge, but we often use those websites to double check that we're giving you the correct information. So if something happens in work and you can't get hold of me, have a look on those websites. Okay?
Brilliant.
Lovely. Yes. 20